It is 8 a.m. on Monday morning, and John has just woken up. Since he overslept again, he skips breakfast, quickly gets dressed, and heads out. Today, like on every day, John drives his car to work. John has been working as a sales representative in a sales corporation for a couple of years. It's not an easy job to do, but he's paid very well for doing it. After work, he looks forward to getting home. John always wanted to be a full-time writer, so as soon as he gets home, he starts working on his book. After a bit of writing, he has dinner and then gets back to work. John tries desperately to continue writing after dinner, but things are not working out in his favor. He's very tired from working all day and decides to go to bed. His superiors liked John when he first started working there, as he was smart and ambitious. When a colleague was struggling, John always offered to help. Even more often, he would jump in and do the job himself. He always put himself forward to train the newcomers and show them around. However, as time went on, John neglected to plan ahead and often failed to see the big picture, and this trait started to make him late with his own reports and responsibilities. He was unaware that he was taking on more than he could handle because he was not thinking ahead. John failed to organize his work responsibilities and his time, and because of this, he always finished working very late in the evening. By the time he got home, he was really tired, and work on his book suffered. Some days he didn't even write, he just watched TV shows and movies all night long. John was convinced that his working late and his poor writing were his boss's and his colleagues' fault. According to him, they did their job incorrectly and poorly, so John had to work late every day. This meant that he was always tired. He couldn't do a good job on his book or sales role. John's car had not been working well for over 2 months, but he never took it to the mechanic. One morning, the car didn't start, so John rushed to the nearest bus stop and got on the bus. John tends to do everything at the last moment, and today he failed to finish the presentation for his upcoming meeting. He knew that taking the bus would make him miss the meeting with his boss, but at this point, and with his presentation not finished, he didn't even care. He no longer wanted to do his job, but instead wanted to focus entirely on writing his book. At work, his boss started to yell at him and said that John would have to stay late at work, which made him really angry. In the heat of the moment, John decided to quit his job, gathered the things from his desk, and headed home. John felt really bad and tried to find a new job for some time, but nothing appeared to be on the horizon for him. This made him feel even worse and realized that he should have found an alternative position before quitting his job. He had more spare time now, but no motivation, no income, and no plan to do anything. He knew that he needed something to change in his life. John wanted to write a book about being of service and giving back to society. Since his writing lacked inspiration, one day he impulsively decided to sign up as a volunteer in the soup kitchen downtown. In the moment of his rash decision, he thought it was a great idea. He liked working at the kitchen, but it took longer than he thought it would take. He blamed his fellow volunteers for being slow and not doing a good job, and instead of becoming more inspired, he just got more tired and more overwhelmed. John was stuck. It seemed to him that no matter what he did, nothing was working out in his favor. John then decided to hire an accountability coach to help him with his issues. The accountability coach helped John with setting out milestones and goals. His coach also kept weekly calls to check in on his progress and hold him accountable. Every day, he would have to write 500 words. At first, John thought that was a very small milestone, but he quickly realized that those words were adding up, and by the end of the week, it was several thousand words. John completed his first milestone successfully, and his coach reminded him to celebrate his success. This went on for a month, and John seemed to be doing a good job. But after quitting his job, John didn't have an income and his savings were running out. He realized that he couldn't afford to have an accountability coach by his side for long. So John decided that he would continue on his own. But now that he had no one to hold him accountable, John started failing to complete his milestones. Essentially, John went back to his old ways. Things were starting to weigh down on him. John was getting depressed and thought that there was no way out. He was desperate and didn't know what to do. One night, after watching some motivational videos online, John was sitting on his couch. He was scrolling on his phone when he came across a video titled, "How to Become More Proactive." He clicked on the video and watched until the very end. It was about a simple concept that many successful people use. There were 3 steps for becoming a proactive person. Number 1, think long-term. Number 2, be organized. Number 3, take responsibility. John realized that this concept of becoming a proactive person could really reshape his life, so he decided to read up on this concept and put it into practice. The first thing that John took notice of is how he always used to think short-term and waited until the last moment to act. He needed to stop obsessing with the day-to-day details and instead look at the bigger picture. Rather than always letting outside circumstances determine his writing, John set up a long-term goal: finish writing and publish his book within 12 months. Next, he started organizing around his long-term goal. John set a goal to wake up very early in the morning and work on writing his book. Using his experience in sales, he would get a part-time job in another company to pay the bills. He would also keep volunteering at the soup kitchen. This way, he continued to do his part in helping others and get much-needed inspiration for his writing. The last thing that John decided was to take responsibility for his actions and stop blaming others. For this, he had to analyze his past mistakes. It was not the bus driver's fault that he got to work late. It was his own indecisiveness and lack of planning. If he had taken his car to the mechanic on time, he would have gotten to work on time. It was not his boss's fault that he didn't get to work on his book enough. It was his lack of planning and organization of his responsibilities. He never had a proper plan in place, and this was the main reason he constantly ended up with more things than he could handle. After John started to work on himself and became more proactive, everything in his life changed rapidly. 1 year later, John was living in another city with the love of his life. His first book was published and sales were better than he could have ever expected. His long-term goal was accomplished, and that meant that he had to set out new goals that he could work towards. By becoming more proactive in his life, John didn't just improve his own life, but the lives of others. He shared the concept with his friends to help them as well. And then a new idea struck him that he instantly felt passionate about. "Why don't I write a book about this concept?" John thought to himself. And that is exactly what he did. In fact, he made it his top priority because helping others was his true passion. In his new book, John used his own story and experiences to be of service to others and help them transform their lives.